Hey, how's it going? This is Curtis. Just want to do a quick video on settings. I know a lot of people get confused by settings, so hopefully this video will be helpful to someone. In order to get to the settings menu from here, you tap this button on the lower right-hand corner. If you're in the middle of the race, you can also get to the settings by tapping a button in the upper right-hand corner. As far as portrait or landscape goes, it really doesn't make a difference. It's personal preference. I've seen great players who only use portrait and equally great players that only use landscape. I have used landscape a few times for the left-right controls because you can hop by tapping the right side of the screen with this setting and use items with the left side, or you can reverse that, or you can use the entire screen the same. But for the most part, I use portrait. It's just something that I'm most comfortable with. When manual drift is on, just like it says, you touch the screen to drift and you steer using the button at the bottom of the screen. Now, when manual drift is off, that's reversed. You control the steering arrow with the screen, and when you want to drift, you tap and hold the drift button. That's, of course, only if the steer/drift button is on. You can turn it off if you feel like you keep accidentally hitting that button and you don't want to. With smart steering, that keeps you on the road more, and it's really hard to go off track too much because there's almost like this invisible wall, beside the grass or the dirt that keeps you on the track. Now, when it's off, then you can go off road in some places. There are still some invisible walls, but you can go through grass or through dirt, and this is kind of nice if there is a shortcut. You can cut through that shortcut a little bit easier with it off. Auto item, when it's on, you're going to use your items automatically when you go through the item blocks, and you pick up new ones. When it's off, you keep the items that you have, and you don't get new ones unless you have an empty item bubble. So, gyro handling will turn your cart when you turn your device. You still have control over your cart using the screen or the button, but this just gives you an additional way of turning. And actually, I found that you can turn even more sharply if you're turning using the screen and tilting the screen at the same time. I have not mastered doing that by any means, but I have seen some people who are really good at using gyro. I am not, but go ahead and play around with it. So as far as recommendations go with what settings to use, what are the best settings, I think it depends on what mode you're on. If you're on single player mode, you're trying to get the highest score possible. My recommendation would be manual drift on, smart steering on, and auto item on. I feel like you have much more control over your cart with these settings. Now, if you have manual drift on and smart steering off, for some reason, it completely changes the handling of your cart. You don't have as much left-right control of your cart with this, and for some reason, when you're drifting using this setting, you do. And let me show you. Let me go into a time trial and show you what I mean. So right now, I've got manual drift on, smart steering on. And while I'm drifting, I have a lot of control. So I can go over here and get these coins. I can drift to the left and to the right. I have lots of control. Now, if I turn smart steering off, I can actually turn much more sharply like this, which is kind of helpful. I can really take this turn sharp, but I can't counter steer as well. I can't go to the left as easily, and this might be harder to see than it would be to go ahead and try it for yourself. And I would recommend going into a time trial, trying this yourself. But when you use the drift button with this setting, this handles almost exactly the same as this when you are drifting. So let me kind of show you that. So using the drift button to drift, this really feels a lot like manual drift on, smart steering on. The only difference is I'm using the button to drift. One thing that's really nice about this setting is I can take no item shortcuts. Show you one right here. See, I didn't use my mushroom at all because when you tap the drift button, you hop and you don't use your item. Now, if you have manual drift on, smart steering on, tap the steer button, it will not hop your cart. you have to do this to hop it, but of course, as you can see, you'll use your items in that situation. So those are kind of the differences in how the Kart handles with settings. As far as multiplayer goes, I would say turn auto item off, because people are much smarter than computers. They know when you are crossing the item blocks that if you have auto item on, you're going to automatically use them, you're going to dump your items, and your protection will be completely gone. But if you have it off, you're going to keep that banana or shell behind you for protection, even as you go across the item blocks. So my suggestion for multiplayer is either this setting, or if you want to use those no item shortcuts like I showed you before, use this setting and drift using the drift button. So I hope this video was helpful, and like I said, maybe go into a time trial and play around with different settings and see what you are most comfortable with. Enjoy. I think that knowing different settings and kind of being able to go back and forth using different settings, there's different situations where different settings are best, and I just think it's great to be able to use a wide variety of settings. So, well, all right, I'll talk to you in another video, and enjoy playing around with those settings. All right, bye-bye.